So as a member of the Golden State Warriors, the defending champions, you know, talk about how they've embraced you throughout this journey in the beginning of the season.
Oh man, that's a great group of guys, and it's obvious what they've done in the past, and for them guys to just welcome me with open arms on top of everything they've already done, and just let me come in and be myself. It's been incredible. So I'm very appreciative of those guys, and they made this process a lot easier for me.
Boogie, I know it's big night. Go be with your teammates. Congratulations. Welcome back to everything.
Congrats on that big Puma life deal, too. You know what I mean?
Be careful, boy.
Yes, sir.
Also,
be careful, boy.
Be careful with the slugger. I don't want to be responsible for that.
He got to get used to a lot of stuff. Being interviewed.
Bull in a China shop right now.
He was in Sacramento a couple of years ago. Cut him a break, man.
I do like that he came back. His first points was a dunk, and I do like that he fouled out in about 15 minutes. Everything just happened the way it needed to happen, and it was good.
And of course, Chauncey asked him about defense.
Come on, man. What happened? 6 fouls, 15 minutes?
That's what you come up with. By the way,
my guy.
I have something for you when we come back, but right now we're going to take a quick break.
Oh, boy.
We'll come back to Staples Center. We'll talk more about this game. We'll make fun of Chauncey, and we still have wagers.
Oh, it must be the microphone. It got to be the microphone.
You called a great game, Mr. Big Shot.
It got to be the microphone.
Oh, Stan. Welcome back to After the Buzzer here at Staples Center. And you've talked so much during the game that you were calling about Boogie Cousins, everything he brings to the table, passing, size, all of that. And the three, as if there's not enough
this
there.
This guy's 6'11", 270-plus pounds, and talk about somebody that can diversify their portfolio, Mr. Big Shot and Paul Pierce. This guy can knock down the three. Look, he's a part of the scissor action and won't hesitate to pull up for three. Like, this guy has been out for a season. He opened it with a dunk, and then all of a sudden he knocks down the three, and before you know it, you now see Draymond Green in this same situation. A guy that's been struggling from three. He was open for a reason. So now all of a sudden up front, if Draymond isn't making shots, you could go with Boogie and KD. But either way it goes, 2 or 3 of those guys being in the game at all times are going to be murder for the league.
Let me tell you something. If you thought this Warriors offense was scary before,
right,
it's about to become a nightmare because, like Jalen said, he not only can shoot the three, but he gives them another dimension of a guy who can pass out of the post. A guy from the center spot, something that they didn't have. A guy who you could literally go to in the post during mismatches. Tonight, he looked fantastic. He ran the court. He got up and down. He got an ISO. He shot threes. Watch out. The league better watch out. That's all I know.
I agree. I mean, the thing that I want to see most that we will see is you can always go on runs against the Warriors because they turn the basketball over. He's a run stopper because now you can throw the ball on the block and he can just operate. He can either get fouled or he can make a basket. They've never had a guy like that before, so it's just going to be tough.
I also think it's fun because tonight there was a real sense of welcoming him back on an away team. This arena platform, he got a standing ovation. It's a Western Conference foe. I think after tonight, the realization for the Western Conference teams will be like, oh, this is going to be a lot tougher. Steph Curry, by the way, continues to do things that no mere mortal should be able to do. Pre-game for Steph Curry is just a must-see event. I don't get this.
No. No.
It's like he's a warlock.
No.
What is that?
This is just crazy, man.
How many times do you think he tried this?
Once. That was it. That was the first time. Yeah, I never get sick of watching those. We do have a couple moments of the night. First up, oh, Chauncey, you can see the dunk of the night. No, I'm going to make fun of you.
Man. What is wrong with y'all?
No, we're not going to get to you first. First up, we got Donovan Mitchell. And also probably some class of 81.
How does Boogie not get dunk of the night?
Well, I'm not on the committee for this.
His first play of the game.
His dunk wasn't that sweet, Paul.
You're part of the
this
show.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
What was the difference?
6'3".
Thank you.
Boogie's return.
6'11".
Well, then,
Boogie's return off Achilles.
One person cocked it behind their head.
I love Boogie. I love Boogie.
How is that not the dunk of the night?
This right here is a little different than Boogie's dunk.
Can I give you the pass of the night, or do you want that to be Boogie also?
No.
Can we give it to Kyrie?
Boogie had a backdoor. He had a backdoor cut to somebody or a layup tonight. Did y'all not see that?
Bounce pass to Steph.
He gave a bounce pass to somebody backdoor. It should have been Boogie nights.
Paul, I didn't expect all of this from you. It's going to be a long second half of the season, apparently.
Chauncey Billups, I know you big on leadership. That's how Kyrie has to lead that basketball team. Pick and choose his moments to have his 20-point quarters, but drop dimes and make those guys better.
But he can do both.
You know what, Paul Pierce?
This is dunk of the night.
There you go.
Come on now. This is dunk of the night.
Hey, Paul.
We'll
Come on now. That's fresh off Achilles. That's fresh off a year off.
I'm
Give
happy
it to
for Boogie.
I just don't like that you got your way.
I'm happy for Boogie.
It's like
I
the
really
world
am.
revolves around you. Chauncey,
But
rumor is
that's
you
not-
told Doc you have 5 good minutes in you still? We got to talk about that when we come back. 'Cause
yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
I can still shoot it.
You can't touch nobody. I can give you a good 6 minutes.
Time to check out tonight's Golden Moment, brought to you by McDonald's. Under 30 seconds left in the fourth, tied at 113 apiece, and D'Angelo Russell for the win.
I mean, how many times this dude is clutch.
No, but the Nets were losing these close games earlier in the year.
They were down double digits, and here we are again.
They were losing these close games early in the year.
How about the young depth that the Nets have built out? You have him, Dinwiddie. You lost Karis LeVert.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people thought, well,
Allen down low blocking shots.
And look, celebrations everywhere.
A free agent destination. This could be one.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Look at this.
Okay,
Stan.
0-2, 0-3. She went 3-0 today. Okay,
Jay. Oh,
I am
man.
in last place now.
Chauncey and Paul with offers.
I am in last place.
But that being said, I want to get back to this before we run out of the town. So you said 5 good minutes, you just won't play defense, but you can still shoot. Is that what we're doing now?
That's exactly right.
On an NBA court with NBA
We'll be
players?
seeing you in
NBA
class
court.
of 81
No doubt.
every week.
That's what. Yes, you definitely will. You definitely will see me
How
on
do you
there.
feel seeing Avery Bradley today? Did you have second
Nightmares.
thoughts? Nightmares, right?
He was trying to pick Steph up like that, but that's the difference between me and Steph.
Oh, here we go. That's going to
the
do it for
difference.
us.
Thank you for joining us.
We'll
Mr.
send it
Big
over to
Shot.
Stan and Neil.
This operation was a success, but the patient.
Time All-Star center DeMarcus Cousins makes his Warriors debut as he returns to the court almost exactly a year after rupturing his Achilles tendon. He should be an improvement at the center position for Golden State because this season, their starting centers are averaging the second fewest points and rebounds, and we know Boogie can produce. Last season, he became the 3rd player over the last 50 years to average 25 points, 12 boards, and 5 assists in a season. But he's got to have the ball in order to be effective, which could be tough in this Warriors offense. Last season, he averaged nearly 90 touches per game, 3rd in the league. Nobody on the Warriors averages more than 80 touches per game. But the potential concern could be around Cousins' involvement on defense. The Warriors enjoy switching, doing so on 40% of pick plays this season. That's the 2nd highest percentage in the NBA. But Cousins only switched 3% of the time last year. So a lot of questions about him. What are the expectations? Let's start with Boogie himself.
Outside of winning the basketball game, that's probably my only goal tonight. Go in, play hard, get my feet underneath me. And I just really realized, this is the last step of the process.
You feel like the coaches will let you have free reign, let you do everything that you should do immediately, that they'll be able to fit that in?
I don't know about all of that.
We can't overstate what this guy's coming back from. And I know there's going to be instant judgment, analysis, criticism. We're either going to be, at the end of the night, unbeatable or in big trouble.
That means now the Warriors will trot out a starting lineup tonight that includes 5 All-Stars from last season, the usual suspects there, plus, you see on the right, Boogie Cousins. And that will make Golden State the first team to play 5 All-Stars since the Celtics in their title-clinching win in Game 6 of the 1976 NBA Finals. Look at that lineup. Remember this? John Havlicek, of course, Hall of Fame, Dave Cowens, Paul Silas, JoJo White, and Charlie Scott. Our NBA Hall of Famer Brian Windhorst joins us now. And Brian, the good thing is that there really isn't a ton of pressure on Boogie Cousins, especially tonight and the first probably couple months. But how about long term? What do the Warriors need to see from him come playoff time?
Yeah, Sage, really the Warriors view this in one way, which is that if he can help them win a couple of playoff games or a playoff series when they're playing a team that has a great big man like Steven Adams, that will have filled his role. They do not need him to come in and average 20 and 10. But I will say this, that part of what Boogie's doing here, yeah, he's trying to win a title, is to rebuild his value and show other teams out there that he could average 20 and 10 again in the NBA. So I don't exactly know how this is going to work a few months from now. Will Boogie be satisfied if he's got a limited role and he's not being able to rebuild his value? Maybe it'll all go swimmingly. Maybe he'll rebound and look like the same player he was before the injury. But while tonight is a celebration of his recovery, what we're really going to find out whether this works or not is in the months ahead when we see how they settle in.
So now they've won 6 straight games now. And just like that, this team they're back at the top of the Western Conference standings. It seems like just the other day they had all the drama, and even Steph Curry admitting they kind of lost their edge. Brian, what changed with this team?
Well, don't forget the last time they were here in L.A. to play the Clippers, they had their big blow-up between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant in the locker room and led to a suspension of Draymond Green. You know, Boogie has already helped them, Sage, in a strange way. As Steve Kerr was preparing for Boogie to come back, he changed his lineup in rotation, started playing Steph Curry and Kevin Durant more together, and we've seen an offensive explosion. So in a weird way, they sort of backed their way into their best basketball this season.
It's crazy, and they're averaging over, 120, 130 points in the 6-game winning streak. So Warriors at the Clippers in Game 2 of our NBA doubleheader tonight on ESPN. Brian, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Game 1 featuring this young man. Remember DeMar DeRozan? He was upset when the Raptors traded him to the Spurs, but he's doing great this season, averaging a career high in rebounds, over 6 per game, and a career high in assists as well, 6.4.
Like I said, it's experience. We're lacking it, and because of that, we have a lot of learning to do. When it gets hard, you got to think. You can't gamble and think that it's going to be the winning play. The things that you're doing, that you've done your whole entire career, of being able to, you know, kind of coast by in certain situations, and you've gotten away with your youth. Being on a championship ball club, you can't get away with that.
So that was Kyrie Irving Saturday night after Boston's loss to the Magic, saying his current team lacks experience, which is true. They're young. So he sat out their next game against the Nets. That was their 3rd straight loss. Did you see what he did last night against the Raptors? Well, basically, he did it all for the Celtics. According to Second Spectrum, he averaged 1.75 points per direct drive against Toronto. That's his highest average in 47 games with at least 10 drives since joining the Celtics. He also kept his teammates involved throughout the night. Celtics made 18 of their 21 shots off passes from him. Those 18 assists were 4 more than he's had in any other game during his entire NBA career. And with Boston trailing with less than 6 minutes left, Kyrie took over the game. He scored or assisted on all of the C's final 25 points as they pulled away and eventually snapped that losing streak. They won by 9 points. After the game, Kyrie spoke once again, but let me remind you. Go back to his old team, the Cavs. Remember, he asked and received his wish for the trade from the Cavs summer of 2017. Part of the reason was to escape the shadow of that man, LeBron James. That's why what he said after last night's win over Toronto is so interesting. Listen.
I had to call Bron, you know, and tell him, like, you know, I apologize for being that young player that wanted to everything at his, you know, at his fingertips. I wanted to be the guy that led us to championship. I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be all that. And, you know, the responsibility of being the best player in the world and leading a team is something that's not meant for many people. Bron was one of those guys that came to Cleveland and tried to show us what it's like to win a championship. What that brought me back to is like, all right, how do I get the best out of this group of the success they had last year, and then helping them realize what it takes to win a championship.
And Stephen A. Smith joins me now. Stephen A., most people seem to agree that what Kyrie said, I mean, there was no accident. He knew exactly what he was doing by going public, telling everybody he apologized to LeBron James. What is your take on all of this?
Well, I just think it's a maturation process that's taking place before our very eyes. When you call out your teammates, when you have numerous meetings, some of them players only, and you're ultra critical, and you have guys like Jalen Brown, particularly after a loss against the Brooklyn Nets the other day, responding, talking about sticking together, not throwing people under the bus, galvanizing the troops, and coming together as opposed to being divided. You're Kyrie Irving. That has to resonate with you because obviously he's been outspoken. He's a champion on the squad. He's electrifying. He's box office. We all know that, and we know the expectations that come along with it. Well, he played with somebody that had those kind of expectations, if not even loftier ones, in LeBron James, and he sort of shunned that kind of impact on his life. So to be as in his own way, somewhat outspoken, recognizing now that he has to play a role similar to what LeBron James had to play at that particular time, understanding that him being called out by his teammates that way was similar to what he did to LeBron. He has to own that, and it says a lot about him that he was willing to recognize that he needed to own that, and I'm proud of him for doing so.
Yeah, it's fascinating that he acknowledges that publicly a year and a half after he left, considering the way that the whole thing ended. So, hey, maybe it is a maturation process, but like you said, it was in his own way, for sure.
One other thing I was told last night, somebody texted me. They said, hey, Stephen A., it's kind of easier for him to end up in L.A. now, isn't it?
Oh, here we go. See, now you want me to end the segment on that? Chances that that happens are what then?
Well, I'm just saying. The point is that he's going to be a free agent. You might not get Kawhi. You might not get Kevin Durant. And in the same breath, Anthony Davis has to be traded by the Pelicans, and they might not want to do business with the Los Angeles Lakers. So if you're going to strike out on all of those individuals, and the consolation prize to some degree can end up being a star like Kyrie, who already helped LeBron win a championship, that's not something to poo-poo.
True. If I had to guess today, though, I'd say never happened. But what do I know? Stephen A. Smith, back in a little bit to talk about Boogie Cousins' return to the court. Thank you.
Been almost a calendar year since DeMarcus Cousins suffered a torn left Achilles tendon, essentially ending his time with the Pelicans. This offseason, he signed with the Warriors and left many to think about the possibilities of Boogie and the death lineup. Days before his Warriors debut, Rachel Nichols sat down with Boogie to talk about his comeback.
And DeMarcus Cousins can't go.
Oh, boy.
He's holding that left lower leg area and not putting any weight on that left leg.
It is happening. You are finally going to walk out onto the court and be an NBA player again. What do you think that's going to feel like?
I'm kind of nervous about it, actually. You know, at the end of this month, it'll basically be a calendar year. It's been a long time coming, to say the least. It's almost like a punishment, you know, when you're a kid and you know, get your favorite toy taken away for a certain amount of time. And, you know, once you finally get it back, you feel like you love it even more. So it's kind of one of those feelings, and you know, once it's in my hands, I'll take care of it.
They signed Boogie Cousins. Is it over right now? Did the Warriors win the title on July 2nd?
They were already favored, and they just got Boogie Cousins.
How do you think you're going to come back a different player than you were when we last saw you?
Well, obviously, I won't be the same player. I've gotten better. So, you know, a lot of things have changed in my game. You start to tune up other areas of your game, jump shooting, skill work. I think everything has just increased and gotten better.
You've talked to other guys who've had this injury before, Dominique Wilkins, Kobe Bryant. Some guys have this kind of injury. They are never a good enough player again. They can never really continue. Some guys are able to move forward and build a whole second stage of their career. What did those two guys tell you about how to do it?
Well, with Dominique, that's who I've probably spoken to the most, and he just basically tells me to attack it. Once you realize you are healed, like, don't think about it. Just go forward.
The guys who weren't able to move forward past this injury, do you let that get into your thought at all?
Not at all. Not at all. One thing that Dominique also spoke on is, you know, they don't know your heart. They don't know your drive. You know, people that do know me, they know I'm very stubborn. I don't like to be proved wrong.
How have those parts of your personality really come forward in this last few months?
They've gotten worse. A lot worse.
You're coming back more stubborn than you left us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Should the officials be concerned?
Nah, they're on my good side right now.
All right.
DeMarcus Cousins got into a heated argument with Scott Foster after the timeout was called.
Not an aberration for Cousins, always eccentric, enigmatic.
You did get a technical this season.
Right.
On the bench in street clothes, which is very impressive, by the way.
Right.
But in general, the fiery side of your personality seems to fit in well with this team. You've got Draymond Green, who's gotten a few technicals, KD, who's got a little more feisty these past couple seasons.
I actually prefer teammates that have emotions. It means you care. Compared to a guy that's kind of just nonchalant and goes about it like it doesn't matter. So I want guys that care. I want guys that show they care. And you know, that's something that the team does.
You should not be getting blown out. That's the bottom line.
We could be watching the last run for these Golden State Warriors.
There was a feeling at the start of the season that the Warriors were going to be a title favorite regardless, that you needed them more than they needed you. But then the season has gone along, and do you think it's shifted a little and they might need you a little more now, too?
I don't really pay attention to storylines. I mean, they're going to say what they have to say. They're going to have their opinions. We're the most hated team in sports, so.
You think you're the most hated team in sports? I would say that there are a lot of people in this country who love to hate the Yankees or the Cowboys.
Well, put us up there. I would say the Warriors are for sure. You know, they hate Kevin, they hate me. think the only guy that really like is Steph. They may hate him as well. They hate Draymond, but I mean, it is what it is. So I can't worry about that.
The bottom line is getting you back on the basketball court. When people hear Boogie's back, what should they know?
I'm back, and I'm not looking back. I'm moving forward. I'm leaving it on the floor every night, and I plan on coming back for that top spot.
He's saying all the right things. Paul Pierce, NBA Countdown Zone, joining us now live from LA. And Paul, I know you're going to be watching Boogie closely tonight. Steve Kerr just said there's no minutes restriction on him. So what's the biggest thing you're going to be looking for when you watch him?
Well, I don't expect him to come back and be the same Boogie Cousins that he was a year ago before the injury. I'm really just looking to see how he really fits in with the starting lineup, how he's moving, getting up and down the court, how his elevation is, how he's playing in pick and roll, and how they use him pretty much. You know, I wonder if they're going to take advantage of the switches that teams normally do in the pick and roll. And, you know, the Warriors never had that post-up threat when they went into the pick and rolls. He's going to be a guy that's going to get switched on, and I want to see how they take advantage of it. But then again, you know, it's his first game coming off a terrible injury. So I just want to see how he fits in and how he moves, basically.
I like that you said that you didn't expect him to come back like the old player he was, because tonight's the first of 37 regular season games left for Golden State.
Yes.
So he has time to get those legs back under him. Paul Pierce, enjoy the festivities tonight.
Yes,
NBA
definitely.
Countdown, 7 Eastern here on ESPN. Thanks, Paul.